you're making this decision that like maximizing shareholder revenue from the outset is not your main thing. And that's good. You know, you just see people, they're like, I don't care about money. It's like, then why did you make a venture-backed startup that you're going to have a huge exit from to not have these people yell at you? Like, you fucked up, you know? And so thinking about the decisions you make and then what you define success as is really, really important. And look, when Dove was motivated not like by meaningful, positive things, like he wanted to change the fashion industry and he wanted to have a non-negative impact on the environment and all this, was one of the fastest growing, biggest companies in the world. And so he was getting both. And then when he sort of put that aside and became very obsessed with other not good things, he destroyed it, and he destroyed himself in the process. And so like your North Star, what you decide to measure success by, is like maybe the most important.
Did he ever recover?
He has another company now. I mean, he's running Kanye West's fashion brand right now. So, you know,
that's a book.
Yeah. that's a,
you want to write that? That's a good book. Go on, if you can write that book.
You've made a decision about what your values are as a person when you take that job. And it's, I would say, not good.
Speaking of obscure categories though, and I see this and I know you've seen it, it's all over, like the algorithm is blessing this. Jerry Seinfeld all over Stoicism.
Crazy.
That's cool.
That's super cool.
That's cool.
I sent him that copy.
Cool.
I'm saying, I was going to ask, like, okay, you are responsible in many ways for that, but I imagine that is really cool for you to see someone like him. I assume you admire him and what he's done, and then to see him kind of talking about that everywhere.
Yes. So, okay. So when I saw that video where he did a thing for GQ where he's holding up like the 10 things I can't live without, he held up a leather copy of Mark Aurelius' Meditations that I publish. That what flashed back to me is I'm in my college apartment and someone recommended this obscure ancient philosopher to me, and I bought it and it came on Amazon, and that's the edition that I read. And I remember reading it and thinking, this is the most amazing thing I've ever read. I wish I'd known about this earlier. I want more people to know about it. And I said, like, this is what I wanted. This, at some point I decided that that's what I wanted to do, is to tell people about this amazing thing. And then there it is happening, right? Like one of the most famous people in the world, a person whose work I admire, is talking about it. And I've had a lot of moments like that, but I have to remind myself, going back to that period, like that's what the fact that I've also made money and gotten to do things that I love doing, and I've learned a lot, that's all on top. But the main thing that I was trying to do was get people who I thought should know about it to know about it, and I did it. And so you kind of got to go back to, you're like, my dream was to like step onto the field of, you know, the football field. And I at any level, I wanted to do that. And then you're going to feel like a piece of shit because you lost the Super Bowl. Like you have so far exceeded what was actually your goal. And remembering that, and then everything is extra. Like I wanted to write one book. My goal is to write one book. Like I just thought if I could write a book, that would be the dream. And you know, what happens is then you're like, and then I want to sell it to a major publisher for more than somebody else. And then I wanted to sell a certain number of copies. And so you're moving what you defined as success. And so that's why it's never enough, because you're not able to go, I did it. I did my thing. Again, you should get to a place where you're still trying to get better and do more. It's your value, your sense of value as a human being is not rising and falling on whether you're reaching the goal that you deliberately moved right outside your grasp.
You need to take the picture of Jerry Seinfeld holding that book and put it above the no.
That's a good,
Put
yes.
that one there. Put Sam underneath. Sam, if you're listening, put Sam underneath. Sam, you can ice roll in the picture because I'm going to give you an ice roller.
Jerry?
I have an ice roller for
go
Sam.
well.
Okay.
And that's all you need around your no.
She does that mask thing that you guys recommend every night. The one that makes you look like Man in the Iron Mask.
I love it. The
With
red light.
Yeah,
That's cute. I love that. Before you go, I want, because I have to ask you this.
Okay.
You do Daily Dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I want you to talk
that's
about,
great too.
Yes, I want you to talk about how you think about being and showing up as a father to your kids, how you want to be as a parent, and also how you want to show up as a husband. Michael's going to get his composition notebook out. I'm just kidding. Michael's a great husband.
Ryan.
Yeah.
He's a great husband.
I'm trying. I'm trying to work as hard at being better at that stuff as the other stuff.
That's a good one.
I'm not religious, but I read this story about Jimmy Carter. He'd run for like his first public office, which he lost. He's a very devout Christian. And he hits him, he's sort of, sifting through the loss. He's like, I just knocked on like 10,000 doors to try to get people to vote for me. And he was like, how many doors have I knocked on to like preach the word, right? So again, I can't really relate to that, but I could relate to the idea of like, oh, he's saying like, I did all this work and sacrifice and I put myself out there for this like professional thing. And then I'm essentially putting in no work in this thing that I believe is actually more important. And I think that's it's like, we'll work so hard to make more money or to get in better shape or whatever. And then we're just kind of like winging it at home. And so I am trying to just actively get better at those things and to be not just like what is societally accepted, which for men is higher than it's ever been before, but also pretty fucking low. Like the bar is like pretty low. I'm trying to like be what I'm capable of being in that thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
It's hard though. It's hard because it's very rewarding, of course, but effort and success are not necessarily correlated.
There's a book called All Joy, No Fun.
Yeah.
And by the way, it is fun. Don't go fucking wild on YouTube. But I'm just saying, like, there are moments. Yesterday, I had one where I was just like, oh my gosh, the tantrum is tantruming.
Yeah, my almost 5-year-old just would not get in his car seat this morning. And like, I lost it. He lost it. I lost it. Then I feel like we salvaged it. And then one of the things I'm working on is like repair. Like, how do I own it? How do we talk about it? How do we get better for it?
What if he just handed you the Daily Stoic when you're losing it? What are you going to do when he's 16 years old and you're yelling at him about something and he just hands you the Daily Stoic?
There's this story I have in the book about this guy, James Lawson. He was this civil rights pioneer. He was like one of the pioneers of nonviolence. He sort of took Gandhi's strategy and brought them to the civil rights movement, particularly in the sit-in demonstrations. And so he's very close friends with Martin Luther King. And after Martin Luther King is assassinated by James Earl Ray, he decides like, I'm going to go visit this man in prison. Like, I'm going to visit the man in prison who killed the person I love more than anyone. And, he killed like a saint, basically. Just shot him down in cold blood, a horrible person. So he goes and they sort of develop this relationship where he goes and he talks and he meets him. And at one point, James Earl Ray asks James Lawson to officiate his prison wedding. And he claims to have found God in prison. He asks him to prison. And so James Lawson is telling his family, like, is at dinner and he's like, I don't know what to do. He asked this. And his son's, just teenage son's just eating. And he goes, well, Dad, if you believe any of this shit you've been talking about, you'll do it. And then he just goes back to eating. And there is something like just like an honesty and a clarity that I think kids have where they see through. You're making this decision that like maximizing shareholder revenue from the outset is not your main thing. And that's good. You just see people, they're like, I don't care about money. It's like, then why did you make a venture-backed startup that you're going to have a huge exit from to not have these people yell at you? Like, you fucked up, And so thinking about the decisions you make and then what you define success as is really, really important.